All right, so I wanted to give a quick update after the third in-person and online open houses regarding the PT golf course and Mountain View Commons, Mountain View campus properties. The third open house was meant to summarize the process thus far, including the results from the second open house, remind folks of what the decision-making criteria are that the stakeholders committee has been using as a kind of guiding document, and then have a discussion and then get feedback on which of the two options that the city is presenting the participants preferred. And the two options that the city chose to present in this third round was the Central Park option and a hybrid option. And there was a lengthy explanation at both in-person and online open houses as to why the hybrid option and not the restored golf course option. And essentially it boils down to the fact that the hybrid option, while it retains a 9-hole golf course, adds a variety of other uses and is therefore in greater alignment with the decision-making criteria that the stakeholders committee established. That's what happened. At the in-person, the crowd was, I think it's safe to say, consisted largely of golfers or people who support the golf course, and very resistant to either of those two options. Sure, some people probably did support the hybrid option, and there were some of us there who supported the Central Park option, but there was also a concerted effort to advocate for an alternative plan for the golf course drawn up by a local golfer that retains the golf course more or less as it is, adds a north-south trail and an east-west trail, and a couple other small alternative uses around the corners, but essentially retains the golf course as it is without shifting the holes around and losing the driving range like the city's hybrid option does. And I wasn't able to stay to the very end, so I've only heard about this secondhand, but essentially that contingent, the golfing crowd that was there, refused to vote on either of the two options that the city was presenting. Now, the online open house went very differently. I haven't seen the results from the poll that was conducted, but listening to the comments, they were almost entirely pro Central Park, and people spoke very eloquently about their reasons for supporting that option. So what does this all mean going forward? The stakeholders committee has another meeting coming up in a week or so. We have not reached a consensus yet on which plan we recommend. Of course, we are not the deciding body on this. We really actually have very little power other than to make a recommendation to City Council. City Council is the deciding body. They will be voting on the matter on July 17th. There are still a few ways that regular people can be involved in the process. First, there is a survey, a digital survey, just like after prior open houses, and I'm going to show you that now. So if you go to the city's website, cityofpt.us/envision, this is what you're going to find. There's a QR code you can scan with your smartphone to go to the survey, or there's a link right here. And when you click on that link here button, it'll pull up the survey itself. It's pretty simple. They want your name, email address. They want to know if you live in Port Townsend or not. And then they ask you to either click supportive, not supportive, or neutral on both the Central Park option and the hybrid golf course option. And then lastly, if you clicked supportive on either of the two, you have a chance to say what you would change to make it more desirable, and also if you have any additional comments. And that's it. Just takes a minute or two, and that closes on July 3rd. So please do fill that out as soon as possible and share it with others. There are a few city council meetings before July 17th, and you can always show up on July 17th as well to make a public comment. You can submit the public comment via the city's website if you just want to submit it in writing. Another thing I want to just mention briefly is on the day before the last open house, the Leader published an article with a headline, something to the effect of Central Park option to cost $5.25 million. And it's upsetting because while that is the actual development cost before the city would apply for grants, the Central Park option would be highly competitive for 35% matching grants from the city. And so the total amount that the city would be paying would be closer to 1.8 million, and that's over 21 years. So in the development phase, it actually comes to far less than what it would cost to restore the golf course in its development phase. The article was just very misleading about the actual cost of the Central Park option. Also, later in the article, it did mention that some of the options were eligible for state grants, but it didn't specify that the restored golf course option is actually not. And so it was just this muddied writing that almost seemed intentionally designed to cast a negative light on the Central Park option. There are other factors, operations and maintenance, the current terms of the lease agreement, including the subsidies for the golf course versus new terms, which we don't know yet what that might look like. And so the point for me is not that the Central Park option is cheaper than the other options. In fact, in the long run, with operations and maintenance costs factored in, it's probably the most expensive because it would create the largest park for everyone to be able to use. The point is actually just that the Leader's reporting on this is neglectful, possibly even intentionally misleading, which is just disappointing. They did, deep in the article, mention the open house, but it seems like that was not their priority at all, to highlight the fact that there is this third open house happening to engage the public. Unfortunately, the effect is that far fewer people knew about it and therefore showed up. So at the in-person open house, at least, the vast majority of people that showed up were the golfers, who are the most organized because they have something tangible to lose potentially. So that was just a disappointing development, but not surprising given the Leader's complete lack of writing about the second open house. I'm losing faith in the Leader's ability to report successfully or fairly on this topic. Lastly, I want to show you something that I launched. I had been thinking about this for a while, and I thought it would be a more time-intensive, cumbersome process, but then when I went ahead and actually did it, it was quite easy. And that is a digital tool called Pol.is, Pol.is. It is specifically designed to build consensus around contentious issues. So the way it works is a moderator, myself in this case, gives the conversation a short description and puts in some seed comments. And the comments are Twitter length, and they're designed to try to get as much approval from participants as possible. So then you spread the word about this conversation. It's open for some period of time. I plan to close it before the city council's meeting on the 17th. And I put in some seed comments. This is not one of the ones I submitted, but one that somebody else submitted. But basically, you're trying to create comments that would be approved or agreed upon by as many people as possible. And so when you click the link, and I'll provide it in the description, you're taken to a page that looks like this. You see the comment, and you just click agree, disagree, or pass. Right now there are 25 to vote on. It's really quick. And then you can also share your own perspective, so you can add your own comment. And the good comment or a statement is a standalone idea that raises a new perspective, experience, or issue, and it's clear and concise. So you don't want to have two very different ideas in the same statement. The tool sends these back out to everybody who has participated thus far, semi-randomly, to then vote on the new ones. And so it encourages participants to specifically think about these short statements that they can craft that are going to garner the most approval, as opposed to the kind of back and forth debate that tends to happen on social media, that unfortunately more often than not is very polarizing. It's a really cool tool, and I can then generate a report at any point in time. So I could see, I launched this I think on Friday, so it's been 4 or 5 days. 31 people have voted, a total of 449 votes. People have submitted 27 statements. We can see how divisive the conversation is. All these dots here are the different statements, on the left being the ones that have been most agreeable. So for example, hold city accountable for affordable housing, not just housing. So 52% of people voted agree with that. Nobody voted disagree. A number of people passed. Take another example here. The vast majority of the PT golf course property should remain as open space. 39% voted in agreement with that. 7 disagreed. 53% passed. And then you go along all the way over here to the most divisive statement. So my hope with that is not to replace anything the city's doing. In fact, I'm very supportive of the city's process. I think it's been very thorough, not perfect, but I think they're really trying hard to engage as many people as possible and be fair. So I'm not trying to sideline that in any way. This is just a tool that the city is not currently employing, and I had recommended it to the stakeholders committee some time ago, and for technical and bureaucratic reasons they're not able to explore it at this point in time, and I just wanted to see what kind of results it might yield. And I'm hoping that at the end of it there are some statements that stand out as the most agreeable to the people who chose to participate, and that in some way they will be illuminating to the city council as to what they might vote for the future of this property. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for other videos. We are in the home stretch of this process, but we're not there yet, and I'll probably be releasing more soon. All right, take care.